Hey everybody! Today for math, we are going to watch a little presentation about shapes. So you're going to learn all about names of shapes, parts of shapes, and then we'll do some examples at the end. So first we have shapes with three sides, and they are called triangles. Now the prefix tri reminds me of the word tricycle. Remember, a tricycle has three wheels, and it's called that because that prefix tri means three. So while a tricycle is a bike with three wheels, a triangle is a shape with three sides, and as we'll learn later, three angles. Next, we have shapes with four sides, and they are called quadrilaterals. So you probably heard the word quad before, which is a motorized vehicle with four wheels, and it's called that because the word quad means four. So a quadrilateral is a shape with four sides. Pentagons are shapes with five sides. Now you see on the bottom there's lots of different looking shapes, but they are pentagons simply because they have five sides. Hexagons are shapes with six sides. Again, they all look very different, but they are hexagons because they have six sides. Now, cubes are actually three-dimensional shapes with six different sides. So each of these sides is a square. Now, cubes are different from the shapes we talked about a minute ago because these are three-dimensional. They have sides and edges, and you can set it down on a table and it's not flat. Whereas a triangle and a hexagon that we've talked about before, those are just flat two-dimensional shapes. Here are some real-life examples of cubes: Rubik's cubes, dice, ice cubes. I want you to pay special attention to the Rubik's cube because I'm pretty sure that's an example of a cube that a lot of you have seen in real life. And I want you to notice how each of those sides is a different color because we're going to be talking about that here in another slide or two. So notice that all of those Rubik's cubes, every side is a different color, and that will really help. So first we're going to talk about angles. Angles is just a fancy word for the insides of the corners. This is something you'll talk a whole lot about the older you get. This square, for example, has four angles. So if you look down here, this is what the angle is. It's this inside of the actual corner. So again, this square has four sides and four angles. Another example is this pentagon here. This pentagon has five sides, like we talked about earlier. It also has five angles. So you can see that there's inside of those corners are all angles. So the pentagon has five sides and five angles. The next thing we have here is a face. So a face of a three-dimensional object is simply the flat surface on that three-dimensional object. So think about the Rubik's Cube example I gave you earlier. Each of those flat surfaces are a different color. You have a green side and an orange side and a red side and a yellow side. All of those sides, those flat surfaces, are actually called faces. So when you think about the word face, think about the different colored sides of a Rubik's Cube. So again, here are some examples of the different faces of a cube. So you have the top side, the left side, the bottom side, the back side, and the right side, and the front side. There are six faces, and on a Rubik's Cube, each of those faces is actually a different color. Now, not all 3D objects are exactly like this. The next example I have is actually called a cylinder, kind of like a can that you might get some soup out of. This one actually has three faces. There's a flat top, a flat bottom, and then that solid round side is also kind of a different kind of face. Looks a little bit different. Next. The next word we have here is vertex. That's just a fancy word for the corner. So you might have one vertex, but the plural of that, you might have lots of vertices. So again, just like how you can have one book, lots of books, the word vertex works the same way. One vertex, lots of vertices. So let's see how this works. In this triangle, I see at the top there's one vertex. But when I look at all of them, I see 3 vertices, 3 corners. Next, I have this hexagon. The hexagon has 6 sides and 6 vertices, which means 6 corners. That's all that really means, 6 corners. We have a different looking hexagon here, and again, this one also has 6 vertices. This quadrilateral has 4 sides and 4 vertices. Remember, a vertex is simply the corner of a shape. Last here we have a cone. The cone just has that one point, that one corner at the top. So there's only one vertex in a cone. I said that really weird. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about edges. The edges are simply the sides of a two-dimensional shape here. So this pentagon has 5 edges, 5 sides. So let's review. How many faces do these shapes have? Now remember, faces are the flat surfaces like on a Rubik's Cube. So this cube, for example, has how many? 6 faces. It has 4 sides, plus it has the top and the bottom. Next, a cylinder. How many faces did we say the cylinder had? 3. There's a top face, the bottom face, and then that wraparound side. How about the cone? This one's a little bit tricky. So this one technically has 2. It has the bottom and then that wraparound side. What shape has 4 sides? Quadrilaterals. And remember, if you look at these pictures, quadrilaterals can all look very different. They just have to have 4 sides. And because they have 4 sides, they have 4 angles. They have 4 vertices or corners. Okay. Which shape has 3 sides? Triangles. And again, they can look very, very different as long as they have 3 sides and 3 angles, 3 vertices. It's a triangle. What shape has 6 sides? A hexagon. And again, they can look very, very different, but as long as there are 6 sides, 6 angles, and 6 corners or 6 vertices, it's a hexagon. Boys and girls, I hope that helped give you a little bit more background knowledge of shapes. What you are going to do is in your assignment in Class Kick, you're going to be using these words: hexagon, pentagon, quadrilateral, and I don't remember if triangle was on there or not, but you're going to be given some shapes, and then it will be your job to figure out which is which. So take your time and do a really good job on your shape.